In the shadow of an ancient baobab, under the gaze of the star-studded African sky, lay the village of Ndeye. Here life was simple, yet steeped in secrets as old as the winds that whispered through the Senegalese plains. At the heart of these secrets was the baobab, an imposing behemoth whose gnarled branches clawed at the heavens. Amadou, a boy of only 10, yet with eyes that held a depth beyond his years, watched the tree from a distance. His mother, Ndeye, a woman whose beauty was rivaled only by her fierce spirit, had warned him time and again to steer clear of the baobab. "It's cursed," she'd say, her voice heavy with a fear that Amadou didn't understand. But to him, the tree was not just a landmark. It was a mystery, a challenge, a siren song that called to him in the stillness of the night. One evening, as the village settled under the blanket of twilight, Amadou lay on his mat, restless. The air was thick, charged with an energy that seemed to emanate from the tree itself. It was then that he heard it, a whisper barely audible floating on the breeze. "Amadou," it called, a sinister lullaby that danced in the shadows of his room. Heart-pounding, he rose. His feet moved of their own accord, carrying him out of his mud-brick home and into the night. The village was asleep, oblivious to the dark drama that was about to unfold. As he neared the baobab, the air grew colder, the whispers louder. "Amadou, come closer." The tree loomed before him, its trunk vast and ancient, its bark etched with tales of a time long forgotten. He reached out, his fingers trembling as they brushed against the rough surface. The moment his skin made contact, the air around him shifted. The whispers grew into murmurs, then into voices, voices of anguish, of anger, of despair. Frozen in place, Amadou listened to the chorus of the damned. These were the souls of those who had fallen prey to the baobab's curse, ensnared for eternity within its wooden tomb. Among the voices, he heard the distinct sound of children crying, their sobs a haunting melody that clawed at his heart. "Why do you weep?" Amadou found himself asking, his voice a mere whisper against the cacophony of sorrow. "They took our lives," the voices replied in unison, a spectral echo that sent shivers down his spine. "We are the forgotten, the lost children of Ndeye, trapped, betrayed." Betrayed? The word echoed in Amadou's mind. By whom? For what purpose? Questions raced through his thoughts, but before he could ponder further, a new voice emerged. Deep, commanding, and imbued with a malevolence that made the very ground beneath him quake. "Amadou," it boomed, drowning out the cries of the children. "You have been chosen." Chosen. The word hung in the air, heavy with an ominous portent. Fear gripped Amadou's heart as he tried to step back, but his body refused to obey. He was rooted to the spot as if the tree itself had claimed him. "Chosen for what?" he managed to stammer, his voice a mix of fear and defiance. "To free us," the voice thundered, the tree shuddering with its power. "To break the curse that binds us." "How?" Amadou's voice was barely a whisper, drowned out by the rising wind. "Bring another." The voice trailed off, and with a final bone-chilling laugh, it faded into silence. The night fell still once more, the voices gone, leaving Amadou alone under the baobab's oppressive gaze. He could feel its eyes upon him, watching, waiting. Shaken to his core, Amadou stumbled back to the village, the weight of the tree's command heavy on his young shoulders. He knew one thing for certain: his life, and the lives of those in Ndeye, would never be the same again. As he slipped back into his home unnoticed, the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, casting long shadows that seemed to reach for him, as if the darkness itself was reluctant to let him go. The sun scorched the plains of Ndeye, casting long shadows of the baobab tree across the village. Amadou, his night haunted by whispers and spectral voices, found no solace in the daylight. The tree's ominous presence loomed in his mind, an unspoken terror that chilled his blood. In the heart of the village, under the relentless gaze of the sun, Elder Babacar gathered the children for their daily lessons. But today, his eyes often drifted to Amadou, sensing a turmoil stirring within the boy. After the lessons, he called Amadou aside. "You carry a burden, young one," Babacar said, his voice a blend of concern and ancient wisdom. "The tree speaks to you, doesn't it?" Amadou's eyes widened, a mix of relief and fear. "Yes, Elder," he whispered. "It told me I am chosen." Babacar nodded solemnly. his wrinkled hands clasping a worn-out talisman. "It is time you knew the truth," he began, his voice carrying the weight of untold stories. "Long ago, our village was home to a sorcerer, Samba. Gifted but prideful, Samba delved into forbidden magic, seeking power beyond mortal limits." The children, drawn by the tale, gathered around, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and curiosity. "Samba's arrogance angered the spirits," Babacar continued. "As punishment, they bound his soul to the Baobab tree, cursing him to forever whisper in the wind. His rage and despair have since seeped into the tree's roots, corrupting it, trapping the souls of those who dare to venture too close." Amadou shivered, recalling the desperate cries from the tree. "Elder, the tree told me to bring another soul," he confessed, his voice barely a whisper. Babacar's eyes darkened. "It seeks to be free, but at a terrible cost," he cautioned. "You must resist, Amadou. The curse must not claim another." As evening approached, Amadou's mother, Ndeye, noticed her son's troubled demeanor. In their modest home, she prepared their meal, her gaze lingering on Amadou. "What troubles you, my son?" she asked, her voice laced with maternal concern. Amadou debated revealing the truth, but feared the burden it might place on her heart. "Just a bad dream, Mama," he lied, forcing a weak smile. That night, as Amadou lay in bed, the whispers returned, more insistent. "Amadou, bring another. Free us." They echoed in his mind, a relentless tide that threatened to sweep away his resolve. He tossed and turned, the sorcerer's desperate plea intertwining with the cries of the trapped souls. A battle raged within him, between the desire to help and the fear of unleashing a greater evil. In the darkness of his room, Amadou made a silent vow. He would not succumb to the tree's sinister will. He would find another way to break the curse, one that did not demand a sacrifice so grim. But as the moon climbed high, casting its pale light through his window, Amadou knew the struggle was far from over. The tree's whispers were like a dark melody, an undercurrent that flowed through the village, a reminder of the power that lay in its ancient, twisted roots. And somewhere, in the depths of the night, the sorcerer's spirit watched, waiting, its patience as enduring as the cursed tree itself. Amadou's sleep was a descent into a world unhinged, a realm sculpted by nightmares and despair. He found himself standing in an eerie mirror of his village, twisted under the shadow of the Baobab tree. Its branches clawed at a sky swirling with ominous clouds, and the air was thick with whispered lamentations. As he walked through this grotesque parody of his home, the ground pulsated with each whispered secret, the faces of the villagers contorted in silent screams. Trees bore the tortured faces of lost souls, their eyes pleading for release. Among these tormented spirits, Amadou recognized faces of children from village legends, each a tragic tale of innocence lost to the sorcerer's curse. A chilling voice broke the haunting chorus. "Amadou!" it echoed, resonating with a power that rattled his bones. Before him materialized Samba, the cursed sorcerer. His form was a ghastly sight, half man, half tree, his eyes burning with a dark fire. "You are the key," Samba hissed, his voice a blend of venom and desperation. Samba's realm unfolded before Amadou in a series of harrowing visions. He saw the sorcerer's rise and fall, his thirst for forbidden knowledge, and his ultimate binding to the Baobab. Then, in a cruel display, Samba revealed a soul close to Amadou's heart, his own grandfather, long believed to have vanished without a trace. "Bring me another and I shall release him," Samba offered, his words laced with deceit. Amadou's heart ached at the sight of his grandfather, but the inherent malice in Samba's offer was clear. The dilemma gnawed at him, a battle between his desire to save a loved one and the knowledge of the horror it would entail. As Amadou grappled with his decision, Samba grew impatient. The sorcerer's realm contorted, revealing a horrifying prophecy. The village consumed by the curse, its people twisted into ghastly figures of despair, the Baobab's roots entwining around Ndeye, choking the life out of it. Panic and resolve surged within Amadou. He refused Samba's bargain, declaring he would find another way. Enraged, Samba's form became monstrous, the realm quaking under his fury. "Then witness the cost of your defiance," Samba bellowed. Amadou was thrust back into consciousness, waking to a dawn that brought no comfort. The nightmare had ended, but its echoes lingered in his mind. He rushed outside, seeking solace in the familiar sights of the village, but a chilling sight awaited him. A group of villagers had gathered, faces etched with fear and confusion. In their midst stood a distraught mother, her cries piercing the morning air. Her youngest child, little Aissa, whom Amadou often played with, had vanished in the night. The whispers of the Baobab rustled in the breeze, a sinister reminder of the curse's reach. Amadou's heart sank. The tree's influence was spreading, no longer content to whisper in the shadows. It was calling, and the children of Ndeye were listening. As the villagers mobilized to search for Aissa, Amadou knew time was running out. He had to act, to enter the realm within the Baobab again, but this time to fight, to break the curse before it claimed another innocent soul. But the path ahead was shrouded in darkness, the tree's malevolence a labyrinth from which there seemed no escape. The sun had barely risen over Ndeye, but a cloak of despair already shrouded the village. Amadou, his heart heavy with the weight of Aissa's disappearance, watched as fear etched itself into the faces of his people. Whispers of curses and evil spirits filled the air, weaving a tapestry of terror that hung over every home. That night, Amadou steeled himself for another journey into the realm within the Baobab. As he approached the colossal tree, its branches seemed to reach out to him, beckoning him into the heart of darkness. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and found himself once again in the twisted mirror of his village. This time the realm was more malevolent. Shadows moved with a life of their own, and the air was thick with the scent of decay. The souls of the lost wailed louder, their cries a chorus of eternal agony. As Amadou ventured deeper, he confronted manifestations of his deepest fears, grotesque creatures that bore the faces of his loved ones, accusing him of cowardice and betrayal. In the midst of this torment, Samba appeared, more powerful and terrifying than before. His laugh was a sound that fractured the soul, echoing through the endless night. "You cannot escape your destiny, Amadou," he taunted, his voice a venomous hiss. The sorcerer's powers were on full display, unleashing horrors that twisted the fabric of the realm. Amadou witnessed a vision of the real world, where the curse had begun to manifest physically, crops withering, animals found dead, and villagers struck by unexplained illnesses. Amadou, driven by a mix of fear and determination, pushed forward to the heart of the tree. There he found the core, a grotesque, pulsating heart, bound by ancient magic. It was the source of Samba's power, the anchor of the curse. As he approached the heart, a revelation struck him like a bolt of lightning. The heart was tied to him, bound by a thread of his own life force. Breaking the curse would mean sacrificing a part of himself, a realization that filled him with dread. Before he could act, a violent force yanked him back to reality. He awoke with a start, the chill of the night air biting his skin. Panic set in as he heard frantic voices. Another child had gone missing. This time it was someone closer to him, his cousin, little Fatou. The village was on the brink of chaos, the curse no longer a whisper but a scream that tore through the fabric of Ndeye. As Amadou looked towards the Baobab, its branches swaying ominously in the wind, he knew that the final confrontation was near. He had to make a choice, sacrifice a part of himself to save the village, or risk losing everything and everyone he loved to the ever-growing darkness. The night loomed ahead, pregnant with terror and uncertainty. The heart of darkness beat louder, a sinister rhythm that promised an end, one way or another. Under the ghostly light of the moon, Amadou stood at the foot of the Baobab, its silhouette a grotesque sentinel against the starless sky. The whispers of the lost souls swirled around him, a symphony of despair, as he prepared to confront Samba for the last time. Stepping into the realm within, Amadou was immediately engulfed in darkness, thicker and more suffocating than ever before. The air was charged with a palpable sense of finality. He moved through the twisted landscape, guided by an unseen force towards the heart of the tree. Samba awaited him, a towering figure of shadows and malevolence. "You cannot defeat me, child," the sorcerer hissed, his voice a serpent's slither in the dark. "The curse is eternal." But Amadou, fueled by the desperation to save Fatou and his village, stood firm. "Your reign ends tonight, Samba," he declared, his voice resolute. The battle that ensued was a clash of wills, Amadou's determination against Samba's dark magic. The realm trembled with the force of their confrontation, the trapped souls crying out as the very fabric of the curse was challenged. As the duel reached its zenith, Amadou, realizing what he must do, made the ultimate sacrifice. Drawing upon the bond that tied him to the tree, he unleashed all his life force in a blinding surge of energy. The heart of the tree writhed in agony, its pulsing beats echoing through the realm. With a final defiant scream, Samba's spirit dissipated, the curse breaking in a cascade of light. The souls entrapped within the tree, including Amadou's grandfather and the children, were released, their whispers turning into sighs of relief as they ascended to the afterlife. In the village, a miraculous transformation occurred. The sick were healed, the crops flourished, and Fatou returned unharmed. The villagers rejoiced, yet their joy was tinged with sorrow for the boy who had saved them. For Amadou was no more. In his place, at the foot of the now withered baobab tree, stood a young sapling, its leaves a vibrant green. Whispered village legends spoke of the brave boy who became the guardian of Ndeye, his spirit living on in the new tree. It was said that on certain nights, under the moon's watchful eye, one could hear Amadou's whispers in the breeze, a gentle reminder of the sacrifice made and the darkness averted. Years passed, and the village prospered, the horrors of the past fading into memory. But the legend of Amadou and the cursed baobab lived on, a dark tale told in hushed tones. And so the cycle continued. Unbeknownst to the villagers, a subtle darkness lurked within the sapling, a remnant of the old curse, biding its time, waiting for the right moment to awaken. In the heart of Ndeye, where once stood a beacon of despair, now grew a silent watcher, its whispers an echo of a past long gone but never truly forgotten.